Dr. Han Da-won wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed away centuries of dust from the alien writing. The hot suns of planet GC-2275 beat down on the archaeological site, making the protective dome feel like an oven. But he didn't care. After 20 years of studying dead civilizations, he had never seen anything like this. "Dr. Han, we found another chamber." Young assistant Kim Yuri's voice echoed through the communication system. She was working in the eastern section of the ruins, where the team had discovered signs of an ancient archive. "I'm coming," he replied, taking one last look at the strange symbols. They were different from the other writings they had found, yet they carried the same message. Do not challenge the humans. The walk to the eastern chamber took 5 minutes through winding corridors. The ruins stretched for miles underground, a city frozen in time. As he entered the new chamber, the lights from their floating drones lit up the massive space. The walls were covered in holographic crystals, most still intact after thousands of years. Yuri stood in the center, her scanner hovering over one of the crystals. "This one still works," she said with excitement in her voice. "The power source is active." Dr. Han approached carefully. In his experience, working technology in dead cities usually meant trouble, but his curiosity was stronger than his caution. "Activated," he ordered, preparing his own scanner to record everything. The crystal glowed blue, and a hologram filled the room. It showed star maps, battle formations, and ship designs, but what caught their attention was the figure speaking in the center, a being from a species they had never seen before. The alien's message played clearly. "This is the final warning from the Seventh Council of United Stars. We were wrong to attack Earth. We were wrong to think humans were primitive. Our fleet of 10,000 ships now lies in ruins. Our colonies burn. We thought we were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. We were wrong. To those who find this message, learn from our mistake. Do not challenge the humans. They do not seek war, but they excel at it. We go now to join the others who made the same error. May you be wiser than we were." Yuri's hands shook as she checked her scanner. "Dr. Han, this recording is from over 40,000 years ago. And it's not the only one." They spent the next hours activating more crystals. Each one contained a similar message, from different species, from different times. Some were older, some newer, but they all said the same thing: do not challenge the humans. Dr. Han sat down on a fallen pillar, his mind racing. Their own civilization, the Galactic Council, had just voted to expand into the sector containing Earth. They had detected radio signals and primitive space travel from the planet. The Council thought humans were an emerging civilization, easy to control or guide. He pulled out his communication device and called Administrator Ki Ta-young directly. The administrator's hologram appeared, looking annoyed at the interruption. "This better be important, Dr. Han. The Council is in session. Sir, you need to stop the expansion plans. We found something in the ruins, something about Earth, about humans." The administrator's expression changed from annoyed to interested. "What about them?" Dr. Han explained what they had found. He sent the recordings, the translations, the warnings. He expected the administrator to be concerned, to call an emergency meeting. Instead, Ki Ta-young laughed. "Doctor, these are primitive superstitions. These civilizations died because they were weak. We are the most advanced species in known space. Our technology is beyond anything humans could imagine. These warnings are meaningless." "But sir, every single dead civilization we found has the same warning. This can't be a coincidence." "Enough." The administrator's voice was sharp. "You are a scientist, Dr. Han. Act like one. I don't want to hear any more about these silly warnings. Focus on finding useful technology in those ruins. That's an order." The hologram disappeared, leaving Dr. Han and Yuri in the dim light of the ancient chamber. They looked at each other, then at the warnings still playing from the crystals. "What do we do now?" Yuri asked quietly. Dr. Hand stood up, his face determined. We keep digging. We find more evidence, and we pray the council realizes their mistake before it's too late. Above them, through the protective dome, they could see the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, and Dr. Hand couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to learn exactly why every dead civilization had left the same morning. Captain Park Ji-yun stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel, Star Messenger, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The blue planet looked peaceful, almost primitive compared to the giant cities of the Galactic Council's worlds. Final approach vector calculated, announced her navigation officer. Earth's space control is requesting communication. Ji-yun straightened her formal uniform. This was her moment. Director Lee Sun-ho had warned her to be careful, to remember Dr. Hand's discoveries, but she knew better. Open the channel, she ordered. A human appeared on the screen. He wore a blue uniform with gold markings. This is Admiral Richardson of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Earth Space, Star Messenger. Ji-yun was surprised by how calm he seemed. Most primitive species showed more excitement at first contact. I am Captain Park Ji-yun of the Galactic Council. We come with peaceful intentions to discuss Earth joining our civilization. The Admiral smiled politely. We would be happy to discuss diplomatic relations. Please follow our guidance beacon to the International Space Station Alpha. It's our primary diplomatic facility. As they approached the space station, Ji-yun's science officer spoke up. Captain, I'm detecting some strange readings. There are energy signatures that don't match the primitive technology we observed. Probably errors in our sensors, Ji-yun said. Their most advanced ships still use chemical rockets. The space station came into view, and Ji-yun's confidence wavered slightly. The structure was massive, far larger than their initial scans had suggested. Their ship docked smoothly, and Ji-yun led her diplomatic team through the airlock. Admiral Richardson waited with his staff. The station's interior was spotless and modern, with technology that looked surprisingly advanced. Welcome aboard, Richardson said. Let me show you to the conference room. As they walked, Ji-yun noticed something odd. The humans weren't asking any questions about galactic technology. They didn't seem impressed by their translators or their advanced uniforms. In fact, they seemed completely at ease. The conference room had a large window overlooking Earth. Ji-yun sat down and prepared to explain how the Galactic Council would help guide humanity to a better future. Before we begin, Richardson said, I should introduce our other representatives. The door opened, and more humans entered. One of them, a woman in a business suit, spoke first. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, head of Earth's Sin Archaeology Division. We've been expecting the council for some time. Ji-yun froze. Expecting us? Of course, Dr. Chen smiled. We've found the same ruins you have. The warnings about us. We've been preparing for this meeting for decades. Ji-yun's diplomatic training kicked in, hiding her shock. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. These humans weren't acting primitive at all. Perhaps, she said carefully, we should discuss what exactly you know about the council. Admiral Richardson pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed detailed maps of Galactic Council space, including classified military installations. We know quite a bit, he said. We've been observing your expansion for years. Your ships aren't as stealthy as you think. Ji-yun's communications officer whispered in her ear. Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures activating around Earth. Some kind of defense network we didn't see before. Is something wrong, Captain Park? Dr. Chen asked kindly. You seem surprised. Surely you didn't think we would be unprepared for this meeting. Ji-yun thought about Director Lee's warning about Dr. Hand's discoveries. She had dismissed them, just like Administrator Key had. Now, sitting in this room with humans who seemed to know more about her civilization than she knew about theirs, she realized her mistake. Let me be clear, Admiral Richardson said. We're happy to establish diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council as equals. But if you're here to guide us or establish dominance, he let the sentence hang. Jai Yun thought carefully about her next words. The future of galactic peace might depend on them. She looked at the humans around the table, seeing them with new eyes. These weren't primitives to be guided. These were people who had survived every civilization that ever challenged them. Perhaps, she said slowly, we should start over. As equals. The humans smiled, and Jai Yun had a feeling that she had just passed some kind of test. She also had a feeling that Director Li and Dr. Han were going to have a lot to say about this when she reported back. High above Earth, the Star Messenger floated peacefully, while hidden defense systems that put galactic technology to shame watched its every move. First contact had been established, but not in the way anyone in the council had expected. Commander Choi Do-hyun paced in front of the large window in the council's military headquarters. The report from Captain Park's diplomatic mission played on repeat in his mind. His face grew darker with each step. They're making us look weak, he said to the gathered military leaders. These humans aren't just primitive beings anymore. They've been spying on us. The other commanders nodded in agreement. On the large screen behind them, images from Earth showed humans going about their daily lives. They looked so simple, so normal. But the data from the Star Messenger told a different story. Meanwhile, in a small office deep within the same building, analyst Kim Yuri was discovering something terrible. Her hands shook as she read through ancient battle records found in the ruins. Dr. Han had sent them to her secretly, asking her to look for patterns. This can't be right, she whispered to herself. According to the records, every civilization that attacked Earth had been more advanced than the humans at first. But in each war, the humans had learned and adapted with impossible speed. They didn't just win their wars. They jumped centuries ahead in technology each time. Yuri's computer beeped. A new message from Dr. Han appeared. Found more evidence. The humans don't just learn from their enemies. They learn from their friends too. Every peaceful contact has led to amazing advances for both sides. But every hostile action. She didn't need to read the rest. The records were clear. Starting a fight with humans was like kicking a sleeping giant. Not just any giant, but one that got stronger every time you hit it. Above her office, Commander Choi was making his presentation to Administrator Kai. We must show our strength now, Choi said, pointing to his battle plans. A small show of force near their Mars colony. Nothing too big, just enough to remind them who really controls this galaxy. Administrator Key looked troubled. Captain Park's report suggests we should be careful. And there's Dr. Han's research. With respect, sir, Choi interrupted, we can't let some old ruins and scary stories stop us. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled space for 1,000 years. These humans need to learn their place. In her office, Yuri found something that made her blood run cold. She ran a search through all the records, looking for any civilization that had survived a war with humans. The computer blinked. No results found. She grabbed her communicator to call Dr. Han, but stopped when she heard footsteps. Through her door's window, she saw Commander Choi walking past, looking pleased. That could only mean one thing. His plan had been approved. Yuri looked at her screen again. The ancient records showed a clear pattern. The civilizations that became friends with humans prospered. Those that tried to bully them disappeared. And now, Commander Choi wanted to do exactly what those ancient records warned against. Back in the council chamber, Administrator Key signed the order. A small show of force, he said firmly. Nothing more, just to establish our position. Commander Choi bowed and left, smiling. Finally, he would show everyone how to deal with primitive species. His battle group was ready. The most advanced ships in the council fleet. What could possibly go wrong? Dr. Han's voice crackled through Yuri's communicator. Did you find anything? Yes, she said, her voice shaking. And it's worse than we thought. Every civilization that ever attacked Earth was destroyed. Not just beaten, destroyed. And She paused, looking at her latest discovery. The humans weren't even trying to destroy them. They were just defending themselves. There was silence on the other end. Finally, Dr. Han spoke. "We need to stop Commander Choi. If he attacks." "It's too late," Yuri said, watching through her window as warning lights began flashing in the military sector. "The attack order has been signed. They're going to poke the giant." In space, Council warships began moving toward Mars. Commander Choi stood on his bridge, proud and confident. He was sure this would be an easy victory, a simple show of force. He had no idea he was about to make the same mistake that had destroyed civilizations far greater than his own. The red dust of Mars swirled around the human colony's defense towers. Inside the main control room, Admiral Yoon Sang-min of the Earth Fleet watched the approaching Council ships on his screen. His face remained calm, but his eyes were sharp. "They're forming an attack pattern," his sensor officer reported. 5 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers." Yoon nodded slowly, just as the diplomatic team predicted. "Send the warning message one more time." On Commander Choi's flagship, a young officer spoke up. "Sir, the humans are broadcasting again. They say this is their space and ask us to turn back." Choi laughed. "Send no reply. Launch the warning shots. Let's show them what real space weapons can do." The Council ships fired their weapons. Bright energy beams shot toward Mars, deliberately missing the colony by a small distance. Choi waited for panic, for desperate calls for mercy. Instead, Admiral Yoon's calm voice came through their speakers. "This is your final warning. You have entered Earth-controlled space without permission. Your warning shots have violated our defense zone. Withdraw now." Choi couldn't believe their boldness. They dare to give us orders. Target their main defense tower. Low power. We just want to scare them. In the Mars control room, Admiral Yoon pressed a button on his chair. "They've made their choice. Initiate Defense Plan Alpha." The Council ships fired again. This time, their shots headed straight for the colony's main tower. Choi smiled, expecting to see the primitive human defenses fail. His smile vanished as the shots disappeared into nothing halfway to their target. "What happened?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," his weapons officer said. "Some kind of energy field. But our sensors didn't detect anything until our shots hit it." Before Choi could respond, small objects appeared around his ships. They looked like simple satellites, barely worth noticing. Then they activated. Suddenly, half of his ship's systems stopped working. No weapons, no advanced sensors, no fancy equipment. Everything just turned off. "Report," Choi shouted. "What's happening?" They turned off our technology," his science officer said in disbelief. "Some kind of selective dampening field. Only life support and basic engines still work." On Mars, Admiral Yoon spoke quietly into his communicator. "The test is complete. We've confirmed their weapons and defense capabilities. Shut down the dampening field. Let them run home." The small satellites disappeared as quickly as they had appeared. The Council ship's systems came back online. Choi stood in shocked silence as new data filled his screens. Hidden defense platforms emerged from the Martian dust. Massive guns pointed at his ships. Energy readings far beyond Council technology appeared everywhere. The primitive colony transformed into a fortress before his eyes. "Sir," his communications officer said shakily, "the humans are sending a message." Admiral Yoon's voice filled the bridge. "This was a demonstration. We disabled your ships without causing any damage or harm. Next time will be different. Take this knowledge back to your council. Earth space is not for conquest." In her office back at Council headquarters, Yuri watched the sensor data from the battle group with growing fear. The humans had revealed only a tiny part of their capabilities, but even that was terrifying. She had to warn someone who would listen. Her computer chimed. A message from Dr. Han appeared. "They're testing us, showing just enough to make a point. The ancient records say this is how it always starts. Small demonstrations, clear warnings." She typed back quickly. What happens next? If the Council doesn't listen, according to the records, innovations in war that no one thought possible, we have to stop this before Commander Choi makes things worse. On his ship, now racing back to Council space, Choi's anger grew with each passing moment. The humans had humiliated him, made his mighty ships look weak. This wouldn't stand. Begin battle planning as soon as we return, he ordered his staff. Next time, we hit them with everything we have. No more games. As Mars grew smaller behind them, Admiral Yoon watched the retreating ships. He sent a short message to Earth Command. First contact protocol complete. They reacted exactly as expected. Recommend preparing for Phase 2. The dust storms of Mars hid the colony once again, leaving no sign of the advanced technology that had just been displayed. The spark of conflict had been lit, and now everyone waited to see if the Council would learn from it or burn themselves trying to fight the fire. Commander Choi stood before the Galactic Council, his voice filled with anger as he described the Mars incident. The Great Chamber was packed with representatives from every Council world. The humans didn't just stop our weapons, he said. They turned off our ships like they were toys. We must strike back with full force, show them what real power looks like. Administrator Key looked troubled. Perhaps we should consider a diplomatic. No. Choi slammed his fist on the podium. Every moment we wait, they grow stronger. I've prepared a plan. 200 ships. Our best weapons. We hit them so hard they won't have time to use their tricks again. In the back of the chamber, Dr. Han whispered to Yuri, "This is exactly what the ancient records warned about. Every civilization that felt humiliated came back with a bigger attack, and every time. They lost even worse," Yuri finished. She clutched a data pad containing her latest findings. But this is different. The Council has more ships, better technology. That's what they all thought, Dr. Han said quietly. The Council voted. Despite the warnings, despite the evidence from Mars, they chose war. Choi's invasion fleet would launch immediately. On Earth, Admiral Yoon received the news calmly. He sat in the underground command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. They're coming with 200 ships, his intelligence officer reported. They think it's enough to overwhelm us. Yoon nodded, just like the simulations predicted. Activate the Omega Protocol. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden facilities came to life. Systems that had been sleeping for centuries woke up. Ships that no one knew existed emerged from secret bases on moons and asteroids. In Council space, Choi's fleet prepared to jump. He stood proudly on his new flagship, bigger and more powerful than anything in human space. "Today we teach them their place," he announced to his crews. "Today we show them what happens when you challenge the Council." The fleet jumped into Earth's solar system, appearing near Jupiter. Choi expected to catch the humans by surprise. Instead, his sensor officer screamed, "Sir!" Energy readings everywhere. Thousands of ships appearing from nowhere. Choi rushed to the screen. Where there had been empty space, now there was an armada. Human ships of all sizes surrounded his fleet, and they looked nothing like the primitive vessels he'd expected. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their ships. They're more advanced than ours." Admiral Yoon's voice came through every speaker on every Council ship. "This is your only warning. Your actions have activated our war protocols. Withdraw now, or face the consequences." Choi's pride wouldn't let him retreat. "Fire all weapons. Full attack." The Council fleet released its full power. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes shot toward the human ships. Then something strange happened. The human ships didn't dodge. They didn't raise shields. Instead, they absorbed the attacks, their hulls glowing as they turned the enemy weapons' energy into power for their own systems. "A gift from the last civilization that attacked us," Yoon's voice explained calmly. "They had wonderful technology. We learned so much from them. Would you like to see what else we've learned?" The human ships moved, Not like normal ships in space, but like they were ignoring the laws of physics. They seemed to bend space itself, appearing and disappearing at will. Back in the council chamber, Yuri and Dr. Han watched the sensor feeds in horror. The human ships were doing things that should be impossible. They've been holding back, Yuri realized. All these centuries, letting everyone think they were primitive. They were just waiting, learning, growing stronger. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. Not a single council ship was destroyed, but none of them could move or fight. Their mighty weapons were useless, their advanced shields worthless against technology centuries ahead of their understanding. Admiral Yoon's final message to Commander Choi was simple. Now you understand why they warned you. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? As Choi stood on his dead ship, watching the impossible human fleet surrounding him, he finally understood. They hadn't started this war, but they were certainly ready to finish it. Kim Yuri stared at her computer screen in the dim light of her office. After the battle near Jupiter, she had received access to even more ancient records. What she found changed everything she thought she knew about human history. Dr. Han. She called through her communicator. You need to see this right away. Dr. Han arrived quickly, looking tired after days of studying battle reports. What did you find? Yuri pulled up the ancient records on her main screen. We were wrong about everything. The humans didn't destroy those ancient civilizations. Look at this. The screen showed records from 12 different extinct species. Each one told the same story, but not the one they expected. Every civilization that attacked Earth followed the same pattern, Yuri explained, pointing to the data. First, they found humans and thought they were primitive. Then they attacked, thinking it would be an easy victory. Dr. Han nodded. Yes, we know this part. But here's what we missed, Yuri continued. After each failed attack, these civilizations became obsessed. They couldn't accept that humans were better at warfare. They devoted everything to military research, trying to find a way to beat humans. She pulled up more records. Look at these technology advancement charts. Each civilization developed faster than ever before, driven by their desire to defeat Earth. But that's what destroyed them. Dr. Han's eyes widened as he understood. They pushed too hard, too fast. Exactly. Yuri brought up case after case. The Seventh Council of United Stars. They rushed the development of a new weapon to defeat humans. It exploded, destroying their home system. The Crystal Empire. Their experimental shield technology created a black hole that swallowed their fleet. She showed more examples. Every single civilization destroyed themselves trying to catch up to humans. They couldn't accept being second best, so they took bigger and bigger risks. Dr. Han sat down heavily. And the humans. That's the most amazing part, Yuri said. The humans didn't want these civilizations to destroy themselves. Look at these diplomatic records. Every time, the humans tried to offer peace. They even offered to share technology safely. She played a message from ancient human archives. To our friends in the galaxy, we offer partnership, not domination. Let us learn from each other. War brings only destruction. But pride got in the way, Dr. Han realized. These civilizations couldn't accept being helped by the ones they tried to conquer. Yuri nodded. And now Commander Choi is pushing our council down the same path. Look at these new orders. She showed him classified documents from the military division. The council was ordering all research labs to focus on weapons development. They wanted new technology that could match human capabilities, and they wanted it fast. History is repeating itself, Dr. Han said quietly. We have to stop this. There's more, Yuri said. I found records of civilizations that chose a different path. Look at these. She showed him data about species that had approached humans peacefully. These civilizations still existed, but they were hidden. They had joined with humans in some kind of alliance that kept them safe and helped them grow. The humans don't want enemies or servants, Yuri explained. They want equals, partners. Every civilization that accepted this friendship grew stronger than they ever could have alone. Dr. Hand stood up suddenly. We need to show this to Administrator Key right away. The Council is about to make the same mistake that killed all those ancient species. Will they listen? Yuri asked. After the battle, Commander Choi is calling for even more military development. They have to listen, Dr. Hand said. Because if they don't, he pointed to the records of extinct civilizations on the screen. We know exactly how this story ends. As they rushed to prepare their presentation, alerts flashed across Yuri's screen. The Council's weapons research labs were starting dangerous experiments. Engineers were pushing systems beyond safe limits. The race to catch up to humans had already begun. The question was, could they stop it before history repeated itself one more time? Captain Park Jae-yun watched Earth's counteroffensive from an unusual place, the observation deck of the International Space Station. After the battle near Jupiter, she had asked to stay on Earth as a diplomatic observer. Now she understood why the ancient civilizations had left so many warnings. It's starting, said Admiral Richardson, standing beside her. They watched as the human fleet moved out. The Council had scattered research bases throughout nearby star systems, all working on dangerous new weapons to fight Earth. Now those bases would learn why that was a mistake. In Council space, Commander Choi prepared his remaining forces to defend these bases. The humans won't dare attack us here, he told his officers. We're too far from Earth. Their supply lines would be too long. He was wrong. The human ships didn't need supply lines. They appeared near the first research base using technology that made Council scientists' heads hurt just thinking about it. The ships seemed to fold space itself, crossing vast distances in moments. That's impossible, one of Choi's scientists said, watching the sensor data. They're breaking laws of physics we thought were absolute. Captain Park watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. Your ships move like nothing I've ever seen, she said to Richardson. He smiled. Would you like to know how we do it? We'd be happy to teach your people, once your council stops trying to fight us. On the main display, they watched the human fleet approach the first research base. The base fired its experimental weapons. Strange energy beams, artificial black holes, and reality-twisting rays shot toward the Earth ships. Nothing worked. The problem with copying technology you don't understand, Richardson explained to Park, is that you don't know its weaknesses. We've had centuries to perfect defenses against the very weapons your people are trying to copy. The human ships didn't destroy the research base. Instead, they surrounded it with a strange field that shut down all its dangerous experiments safely. No one died. No one was hurt. The humans just carefully dismantled everything that could have led to another civilization destroying itself. You're saving them, Park realized. You're not attacking. You're preventing them from making the same mistakes that killed the ancient species. At the second research base, Choi's defenders tried a different approach. They activated all their experimental weapons at once, hoping to overwhelm the human defenses. The resulting explosion would have destroyed the entire base and everyone in it. But the humans were ready for this too. Their ships created some kind of bubble around the base, containing the blast and saving thousands of lives. Every civilization that ever attacked us did the same thing, Richardson told Park. They rushed to develop weapons they couldn't control. We learned to predict it, to prevent it. Yuri and Dr. Han, watching from Council space, saw the pattern play out exactly as the ancient records had warned. But something was different this time. The humans are being more direct, Yuri said, studying the battle data. In the past, they let civilizations make their own mistakes. But now they're actively stopping us from destroying ourselves, Dr. Han finished. They've learned too. They don't want to watch another civilization die from pride. One by one, the research bases were secured. Not conquered, not destroyed, just carefully prevented from doing anything dangerous. The Council's mighty fleet could only watch, their weapons useless against technology they couldn't even understand. Back on the space station, Park turned to Richardson. I need to ask you something. All this technology, these capabilities, you had them when I first arrived for diplomatic talks, didn't you? You could have demonstrated your power then. Richardson nodded. We always try talking first. Always. Fighting is our last choice, not our first. Then why show your power now? Because sometimes, he said, watching another research base being safely contained, the kindest thing you can do for someone to stop them from making a terrible mistake, even if they hate you for it at first. Park thought about the ancient warnings, about all the civilizations that had destroyed themselves trying to prove their superiority. She looked at Earth, beautiful and blue below them, home to people who had learned from every attack, grown stronger from every challenge, and yet still chose to save their enemies rather than destroy them. Now she understood. The warnings weren't just about human power. They were about human wisdom. Administrator Key sat alone in his office, staring at the reports from the research bases. Everything had gone wrong. The Council's best weapons had failed. Their strongest defenses had meant nothing. Now he had to make a decision that would affect billions of lives. Sir, his assistant called through the door. Dr. Han and Analyst Kim are here. They say it's urgent. Kai almost said no. He had seen enough bad news. But something in his assistant's voice made him pause. Let them in. Uri rushed in first, carrying a datapad. Dr. Han followed with a large box of crystal storage devices from the ruins. They both looked like they hadn't slept in days. Sir, we know why the ancient civilizations really died, Uri said, putting her datapad on his desk. And more importantly, we know how to avoid their fate. Kai looked at the pad tiredly. How does this help us now? The humans have shut down our research bases. Our fleet is useless. Commander Choi is demanding we launch an all-out attack with experimental weapons. That's exactly what we need to prevent. Dr. Han opened his box of crystals. Look at these records. Every civilization that tried to fight back harder ended up destroying themselves. But the ones that chose a different path. He activated one of the crystals. A hologram appeared, showing a thriving alien city unlike anything Kai had seen before. This is the Stellar Assembly, Uri explained. They were like us once. They fought the humans, lost, and almost destroyed themselves trying to catch up. But then they made a different choice. She showed more images, advanced cities, peaceful fleets, technologies beyond even what the Council had. They accepted human friendship, Dr. Han said, and they prospered more than they ever had before. The humans shared technology, knowledge, everything. Once they knew it wouldn't be used for war. Kai stood up slowly. Are you saying? There's more, Yuri interrupted. She played a message from Captain Park, sent from Earth. The humans know about Commander Choi's plan to use untested weapons. They're not angry. They're worried. They've seen this before, and they don't want us to die like the others did. They're offering us a choice. In space, human ships continued their careful work of containing dangerous research. They moved with precision, with care, making sure no one was hurt. They could have destroyed everything, but instead, they were protecting the Council from its own mistakes. Admiral Yoon's voice came through on all Council channels. You have 6 hours to make your decision. Choose peace, and we will help you rebuild everything you lost. Choose war, and we will be forced to stop you completely. We take no joy in this, but we will not watch another civilization destroy itself. Commander Choi burst into Key's office. Sir, we have to strike now. I have a plan. Enough. Key's voice was sharp. He pointed to the records on Yuri's pad. Look at this, Commander. Look at what happened to others who thought like you. Yuri stepped forward. Sir, we found something else in the ruins. The humans have a saying. The strongest warrior is the one who never needs to fight. They've been trying to teach this to the galaxy for centuries. Dr. Han nodded. Every civilization that learned this lesson grew stronger than they ever were before. Every one that refused. Kai looked out his window at the council city below. He thought about all the people living there, about their future, about the choice he had to make. Commander Choi was still arguing, but Ki wasn't listening anymore. He was watching a small light moving across the sky, a human ship, keeping careful watch, making sure the council didn't accidentally destroy itself. "Get me a channel to Earth," Ki said finally, "and send messages to all our worlds. It's time we learned from history instead of repeating it." Yuri and Dr. Han shared a look of relief. After thousands of years, finally, someone was going to make the right choice. But Commander Choi's face darkened. He stormed out of the office, heading toward the military command center. He wasn't done fighting yet. The next few hours would determine whether the Council joined the graveyard of extinct civilizations or the community of species who had learned to be truly strong. The Great Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every world waited to hear Administrator Ki's decision. But before he could speak, alarms blared through the building. "Emergency," a voice called over the speakers. "Commander Choi has accessed the Forbidden Weapons Vault. He's activating everything." Yuri, standing near the back with Dr. Han, checked her datapad. Her face went pale. "He's trying to launch all the experimental weapons at once." In the military command center, Choi worked frantically at the controls. "I'll show them true power," he muttered. "I'll show everyone." The forbidden weapons were the Council's most dangerous projects. Technologies they barely understood, copied from ruins of dead civilizations. Using just one could destroy a planet. Using all of them together, the energy buildup is reaching critical levels, Yuri reported, her voice shaking. "Just like the ancient records, this is exactly how the Crystal Empire died." But something was different this time. Through the chamber's windows, they saw human ships appearing in the sky, dozens of them, then hundreds. They moved with purpose, surrounding the military center. Admiral Yoon's voice filled every speaker. "Commander Choi, stop. You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand perfectly," Choi shouted back. "I understand that you look down on us, think we're primitive." "No," Yoon said calmly. "We think you're young. There's a difference. And like any good teacher, we want to help you grow, not watch you destroy yourself." The weapons continued powering up. Energy readings went higher and higher. The ancient records showed what would happen next, a chain reaction that would tear the planet apart. But the humans didn't wait for that. Their ships created a strange field around the military center. Inside it, time seemed to slow down. The energy readings stopped climbing. What are you doing?" Choi demanded. "Saving your life," Yoon replied. "And everyone else's. Look around you, Commander. Look what fear and pride have done." The field expanded. Where it touched the experimental weapons, they simply stopped working. Not violently, not with explosions. They just quietly powered down, becoming harmless metal again. In the council chamber, Administrator Ki stood up. He had made his decision. "People of the council," he announced, "today we choose a new path. For too long, we called ourselves the most advanced civilization in space. But true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about wisdom." He gestured to the human ships outside, still carefully containing Choi's attempted disaster. "Look at them. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they protect us, even from ourselves. They offer friendship instead of demanding surrender. They show us what real strength looks like." The chamber was silent as Ki continued. "I've seen the records. I know what happened to others who stood where we stand now. Some chose pride and died. Others chose wisdom and prospered. Today, we choose wisdom." When Commander Choi was finally brought to the chamber in restraints, he expected punishment. Instead, Ki surprised everyone. "You will go to Earth," Ki told him. "Not as a prisoner, but as a student. Learn from them. Understand why every dead civilization warned us about challenging humans, not because humans are cruel, but because they're wise." The peace agreement was simple. The Council would stop its dangerous weapons research. In return, humans would share their safe, tested technologies. More importantly, they would share their knowledge, their experience, their wisdom. Months later, Captain Park stood on Earth again, this time as the Council's first official ambassador. She watched Council scientists learning from human teachers, Council ships practicing alongside Earth vessels, Council citizens and humans working together. "It's strange," she said to Admiral Richardson. "We thought we were the teachers, coming to guide a primitive species. Instead, we became the students." "Everyone starts somewhere," Richardson replied. "The civilizations that died, they couldn't accept being students again. Their pride wouldn't let them learn." Yuri and Dr. Han continued studying the ancient ruins, but now they had help. Human archaeologists shared their records, showing how each dead civilization had made the same mistakes and how each surviving one had learned the same lessons. The Council changed its name to the Galactic Assembly of Learning. Their new motto, taken from human wisdom, was simple: true strength lies not in conquering others, but in helping them grow. And somewhere in the ruins of those extinct civilizations, their final warnings still glowed. Do not challenge the humans. But now, everyone understood what that really meant. Don't challenge them to war. They'll always win. Challenge them to teach you, and everyone wins.